Hello, 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 hello. Hello, everybody. Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, everybody. Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday. Hello, 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 hello. Oh, wow. So I got feedback going on. I'm like, okay. Technology does what it want to do and does extra when you're not expecting it to. But welcome to the Closer community. This is Pastor E. I'm so excited to pull up with you guys. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've been in the live space. Yes, I think everybody should take a sabbatical here and there. And so I am coming off my family sabbatical from family vacation and all the other fun stuff. And so the kids are in school, back to school. And so now I'm back in this space where I can be with you all. And we're right here, the Leadership Church is every week, midweek, you never know, maybe a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, but the Closer community is right here. And so if you're pulling up to the Closer community for the very first time, this is your very first time with us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad to have you be a part of the Closer community. For those of you that are joining us for the very first time, it's our midweek experience at the Leadership Church. We call it an experience because it can be a variation of small groups, Bible study, midweek pop-up service, chat and choose, panel discussions, conversations, or coaching groups. So you get all that in the Closer community. And then tonight, it's our last night of the Get Clarity series. And so Get Clarity has been a conversation, a series for the month of August about purpose. And tonight I am joined by my very special guest, my brother in Christ, Mr. Xavier Brandon. So y'all welcome him to the Closer experience. Go ahead and drop welcome in the chat. Welcome Xavier to the Closer experience tonight. We're so excited for him to be our special guest in our conversation. And as we unpack the discussion on purpose, Pastor Tony and Joyce Littell kicked off the discussion on purpose, just defining what purpose is. And then Elder Jeanette and Jabrea dived a little bit more into purpose on last week. And it was so super amazing. So tonight, I believe me and Xavier going to hit a home run.
We're going to try.
We're going to try to hit a home run perfecting your purpose God's way. And so before we dive into it, if you are excited about the conversation, please share. We ask that you share. This is the time we are streaming on YouTube. So our YouTube family, please drop the link. And if you know someone needs this conversation tonight about perfecting their purpose, then go ahead and share that information. We see so much bad content a lot of times out there on social media. And so when we run into good content that's good, I think we should do our due diligence in sharing it. So go ahead and share with the people. Go ahead and let them know that they need to pull up to the Closer community because you believe tonight is going to be a divine discussion that can impact their life. And so I just want to tell you a little bit about my brother Xavier. And it's so funny because I have a biological brother named Xavier. And so when I told them that tonight I was going to be on with Xavier, we were like, oh, you and Zay? So we call my brother, his name is Xavier Peoples, and we call him Zay, So do people call you Zay?
They call me X.
They call you X.
Yeah. It also depends on when you met me and how you met me. Like when I was a kid, they used to call me Zay. And a whole bunch of Xaviers that started popping up. I didn't know Xavier was such a popular name. So in middle school, my best friend, she said, I'm gonna start calling you X, and that just kind of stuck. So yeah.
Yeah, he had the X thing going on a little bit too, as well. But y'all, this is Xavier Brandon, and he's a creator. He's a creative curator. He's a radio producer, author, MC, DJ, podcaster, and minister. He is the B103 producer for Early Morning Praise with Larry Tinsley and the host of News and Talk 1380 WAOK Voice in the Streets Unfiltered. Y'all welcome Xavier to the stage tonight.
And the crowd goes wild. That was a phenomenal intro. I'm like, oh, she got that straight from the site. That's great. I love it.
Right.
I love it.
Well, everyone is saying hello to you tonight. We're so glad to dive in. Yes, Joyce is. We're so excited to have this conversation. It is a right on time conversation in regards to purpose. We've just been kind of walking this thing out. The thing about it is between purpose and passion, it's an ongoing discussion. It's something that we can't run away from because it's what we walk into on daily. So if you know what it is, it's wonderful because you kind of get to build on it. But if you don't know what your purpose is, you feel kind of lost. You're just doing a whole bunch of stuff. It's like you're that guinea pig on that wheel and you're moving.
But you ain't going nowhere.
You ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. Okay. So tonight we want to help you talk through, perfecting your God-given purpose, what that looks like, all around the whole topic on purpose. So I'm so excited. We're going to just kind of dive right into it and just tell everyone, what did you think when about the conversation, about the topic period, when I brought it to your attention? I said, let's talk about perfecting your purpose. What was your first thought?
My first thought was, oh, this is in my bag. Like I'm anybody who knows me knows I'm very passionate about purpose. And actually, I think I have a gift of helping people find what their purpose is and then propelling them into their destiny. And so purpose is something I talk about a lot. And I think it's critical, especially when we're looking at being a disciple and we're looking at producing the kingdom on the earth. Is like, I feel like we were all designed and created with a purpose, an assignment, a mission. And that God-given purpose that you have is instrumental in you not only achieving your highest self, you achieving your highest success, but also you pleasing the Lord and impacting the world. And I think passion directly correlates with purpose. So I usually ask people 4 questions when I'm helping them figure out what their purpose is. It's either number 1 is what are you passionate about? Like, what could you do if no one ever paid you to do it? You do it for free. Like, what is that thing? The second question I ask them is what pisses you off the most? Because what pisses you off the most is the problem you were created to solve, right? The third question I ask them is, what position do you play consistently? And so, like, what I mean by that is, like, whenever you're in a space, what is the type of person that you are? Like, for me, like, I'm always a leader. Like, it doesn't matter where I go. I could try to sit in the background and someone's going to pull me to the leadership position. You know what I mean? I'm loud, I'm boisterous, I'm confident. Like, I can't shake it. So I know I'm usually a leader and I'm always usually a talker, right? And a fourth thing I always ask is, what are the prophetic voices around you saying? Now, someone might be asking, what are prophetic voices? Prophetic voices are those people who have a connection with the divine, who have a connection with God, the Spirit, and they usually speak consistent messages about you over time. So within those 4 questions, your purpose lies somewhere in the center. And if you spend a little bit of time with the Lord, he'll begin to reveal those things over time. So I was excited. I was like, oh, we can do this.
We can do this, yeah. Right? And me too. I felt the same way because that's something I'm very passionate about. I tell people walk in their power, walk in their purpose. It's just a part of who I am, a part of what I do. It's a part of my assignment, to help people. So I was just very, very excited about the conversation. I knew that it was going to be one that we could, possibly really unpack and help people. And so that is what I believe. This platform, this discussion tonight is really to help people who know what their purpose is, kind of sort of know what it is, how to help them totally walk it out. So one of the things is, when you look at the Bible, you see how God used all kinds of people who didn't already have it together. And a lot of times people use, they don't have stuff together as an excuse to not be doing what God has called them to do, or not to be doing what passionately drives them, what's their purpose. And I'm reminded that Jacob was insecure, Leah was unattractive, Moses stuttered, Samson was codependent, Rahab was immoral, David had an affair, Jonah was reluctant, John the Baptist was eccentric, Peter had a temper, Martha worried too much, and Thomas had a whole bunch of doubts. But God still had a special purpose for every one of these people, and
Jesus didn't want to do it.
Come on. And Jesus didn't want to do it.
Jesus didn't want to do it.
Jesus didn't want to do it. And so sometimes I'm asking people, like, are you ready for purpose? You know what I mean? Like, not ready like you got all your stuff together, but in your mind and now in your spirit, are you ready to attack this thing, walk this thing out, according to what God has aligned for you, because it's a blessing on that other side. So what do you say to people who always come up with excuses that, for whatever reason, they got to get it together first before they can start, walking in their purpose?
Well, there's a poem that was instilled in me when I was a kid about excuses. It says, excuses are tools of the incompetent which build bridges to nowhere and mind nothing. Those who use them seldom accomplish anything. So therefore, I'm not using any excuses, right? So I think excuses are a scapegoat to why we not doing what we know we're supposed to be doing. I also think that you are never going to be ready. So you might as well just give up. I don't know who created that like false narrative that being ready was a prerequisite to operating and doing, but you ain't never going to be ready. Just like you ain't never going to be ready to be a parent. You ain't never going to be ready to be married. You ain't never going to be ready to operate in your purpose. You ain't never going to be ready to go from the next grade to the next grade. Like, it's all about you being willing. I think that's that's more important than you being ready, is you being willing, right? Moses wasn't ready to set the people free. He was willing, though.
He was willing.
Stuttering all. And every excuse that Moses gave, God was like, all right, but I'm gonna get your brother to do it. Or, all right, but you ain't gotta worry about that. Just stand out your staff. All right, he'll listen to your excuse, but that ain't gonna change, his plan for you. And so I think that you don't need to be ready. You just need to be willing. And once you finally accept being willing, that is when I hate using church jargon, but that's when the breakthrough occurs. Like, you know what I mean? That's when you start to walk in true abundance. That's when you walk in true power. Even for me, like, at an early age, I knew I was called to ministry. I was saying that I have a dream speech in front of my church at 8. You know what I mean? I was leading youth ministry. I was introducing Christian hip hop. I was doing a whole lot, but I also knew the magnitude of what it took to be that person. And I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to go rap. That's why I came to Atlanta. I'm like, I'm a rapper. I'm coming to Atlanta. I'm going to get signed. I went to Morehouse. Shout out to all my Morehouse people, AUC people. I went to Morehouse as a backup plan. And I'm like, if all else fails, at least I had a degree. You know what I'm saying? In the midst of me doing that, God used certain people in my life, relationships, my ex, encounters of random people to kind of just reemphasize, hey, I got my hand on you. And at some point, I just said, I surrendered. You know what I mean? I believe that, there's a movie called State Property, and in the movie, Beanie Siegel, he's holding a gun to somebody. He said either you're gonna get down or lay down, and that's the way I think God worked with me. He may not work with you that way, but he worked with me. Like, you gonna get down or you gonna lay down? Which one you want?
Right.
And I
Which
said,
one?
I'd rather get down. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather surrender than to wait till I'm at this age for him to sit there and say, now look, man, you could have been a lot farther than you are right now, but now I got to take you all the way back because when you was 18, when you was 20, you decided you wasn't ready, and you use that as an excuse. Nah, you ain't got to. Just be willing. Don't be ready.
Don't be ready. Be willing. I like that. Y'all throw that in the chat. Don't be ready. Just be willing. Just be willing. That's good right there. Oh, I love it.
He'll take care of the rest.
He'll take care of the rest.
Yeah. He'll take care of the rest.
That's good. That's good. That's good. You know what? I think a lot about when you start when you have to start thinking about how you're going to achieve our purpose, but then the larger question is, who is going to help me? How important is it with connecting? Because I'm big on relationships and connectivity, but how important is it in connecting with the right person or community to help perfect your purpose?
It's essential. Again, something that was instilled in me. Teamwork make the dream work. Okay, like it'd be simple stuff that we know in head knowledge, but it may not hit our heart. But teamwork truly does make the dream work. There's a book. I think it is Good to Great, actually, where it talks about putting the right people in the right position.
You all up in my stuff. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to flow. I ain't trying.
No, you good. Flow. Go ahead.
I think it talks about putting the right people in the right position.
Yes.
Because if you put the wrong people in the wrong position, you're not going to be able to get where you need to go. And so Jesus had 12 disciples. You know what I mean? If it was all about him being alone, then Jesus would have came down and he wouldn't have had 12 of his homies. And these homies were not proficient in biblical scholarship or anything. They were just 12 regular hooligans and hood rats. You know what I'm saying? And those hooligans and hood rats, flipped the world upside down because they were, again, going back to the first point, they were willing. And so Jesus was able, as a good leader, to see their strengths and be like, all right, boom, I'm going to position you here. I'm going to position you here. I'm going to position you here. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think it's definitely important, and something that God rest his soul, Bishop Eddie Long, he used to teach about friendships, and he used to say that the people you surround yourself with are most important in you getting to your destiny, right? And so for me, I sat there and said, I took that, I'm like, I don't have time for casual relationships. Every relationship that is in my life has to be purposeful and getting me, and I'm hoping getting them to the next position they need to be in. And so it's very key that you be discerning and you be wise about who's in your circle. I'm a hip hop artist, so of course I speak in lyrics. So there's a dude named Sirius Jones that said you got too many. That's why your crew's out of shape because you got too many squares in your circle. You know what I mean? If you look at your circle, you don't need any squares in it. You don't need any lame people. You don't need any people who's afraid. You don't need no people who going to talk bad about you, who ain't going to believe. You need people who about that action, about that life, that can sit there and like, Elizabeth and Mary, you know what I mean? When you get in the same place, your baby or that thing that's within you start leaping. You start getting excited. Like you start figuring out, okay, boom. Like, and that goes for every relationship. That goes for your romantic relationship. That goes for your pastoral relationship. That goes for, your friends or who you hanging with. You got to have the right people and you got to be the right person too. You know what I mean? It ain't just them. You know what I'm saying? If you out of pocket, if you ain't in position, you could be messing up the whole domino. You could be messing up the whole play. God could be sitting there telling you to run the play and you don't want to run the play. So now your whole team is losing because you ain't running the play. So it's both them. But if you run the play, you got to make sure you pick the right team. Like you pick the right squad. That means everybody who you around, who may be your friend, they could be your best friend since elementary school. They may not be the people that you need in this particular season to get you where you need to go. That don't mean that you can't be cool and be friends, but that just means that they may not have what it takes in them at this moment, developmentally wise, for you to make your purpose activated.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of time. And unfortunately, in my generation, a lot of us are microwavable. You know, we want to get things instantaneously, and we don't want to put the time in to get to know people, you know, to figure out what their strengths are. You know, there's these assessments called strength finders. And I believe in that. I believe if you can play to your strength, then we can win, you know, but not play to your deficiencies or your insecurities or your areas of growth. And so, like, I keep, I keep like a close-knit circle around me. And there's some people, and my circle always rotates based on where I'm at. Not because I necessarily don't like people or I want people around, but wherever God is positioning me, he ends up surrounding me with the people who I need to be around at that moment. So some of those people have been around for 20 years and some of them have been around for 6 months. It just depends. But because I'm solid and in alignment with who I am, then that's going to force them to be in alignment with who they are too. So I know that's a long answer, but I hope that answered your question.
No. I you definitely answered the question, because what we don't a lot of times realize is that we have the connectivity is so important. You know, you have to be around, you know, people that align their purpose with yours as well, you know, because sometimes if you're not around the right people, they can stifle your growth. You know, if you're not around people that are adding to what you're doing, whether it's learning, growing, pushing you forward, you know, but then you got these negative things, negative words, negative Nancy's, you know, woulda, coulda, wouldas, you know, all of those things, they can stifle you, you know, and keep you closed-minded instead of open-minded to what God may be trying to do next in your life. So it's definitely important for you to stretch yourself and be around people that are already where you're trying to go. You can't be the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And some people are okay with that. They are okay with just being the sharpest knife in the drawer because that's their level of comfort.
And that's setting you up for failure too. You know what I'm saying? But I do want to point out, and I don't think we talk about this a lot, but Jesus also had people in his circle who didn't have his best interests at heart. And he knew that. And he didn't kick them out. He let them do what they was going to do. So I'm opposed because, you know, I'm all for self-help and all that good jazz, right? But sometimes I think, especially in my generation, we take it too far. You know what I mean? We automatically want to eliminate everybody who ain't where we want to be. And it's like, no, you got to have discernment. You know what I'm saying? Because Jesus didn't kick Judas out. Let Judas do what Judas was sent to do, and then Judas eliminated himself. And but Judas wasn't in the 3. You know what I'm saying? He had 12, then he had like 6, and he had 3. You know what I mean? And so you just gotta know like who's around you at all times and move accordingly.
Yeah, I don't care what circle you're in, you're always gonna have a Judas.
Yeah,
you know, that's a whole nother conversation. But you know, you can avoid the Judases in your life if you want to. But even when you change circles, it's gonna be there. So you have to learn how to navigate those relationships. But it is important for make sure you position yourself around people that can stretch you. And so, you know, it brings me to what Paul told Timothy about not neglecting your gift, but to stir up the gift. Let's just talk about, you know, you already mentioned it, going good from great. When realigning your purpose with God, what does that process look like? When you're trying to walk out your purpose, how do you go from good to great?
It is not an easy process. I will say that. It takes a lot of you, again, surrendering. Like it takes you getting out of your way, getting your plans, setting them to the side, you know, and eventually, like I know I said that Jesus was like, yo, he didn't want to do it. But eventually he got to the point where he said these words. He said, not my will, but your will be done. And I think that process for some people is a short process, and that process for others are long.
Yes.
You know, you got to set aside your ego, your pride, your selfish ambition your hopes and your dreams. Again, I wanted to be a rapper. That was my goal. Like, you know what I mean? I want to be top 5 dead or alive. I still do, you know, but I had to set that aside and say, all right, Lord, what did you create or design for me to do? And so that means I had to go to prayer. You know,
Yes.
There was a time where I had to let go of all the things that I knew and had to recondition my mind. You know what I mean? I had to change my circle. I had to get with a group of people who were moving in the direction that I wanted to move in. I had to learn. I had to be a student. You know what I'm saying? That's what a disciple is, a disciplined learner. I had to do that. And then I had to be brave and courageous enough to just try. You know, even if I got it wrong, I had to try. And so, again, I don't know if there's a time limit, but I do know it takes time and a lot of internal work. And some of that goes through prayer. Some of that is going through prayer. Some of that is through therapy. Some of that is through listening again to those prophetic voices around you. And some of that is actually asking people like, what are my blind spots? Mm-hmm. What are areas in which I need to grow? Taking constructive criticism. Not everybody is a hater just because they go against something that you but also on the flip side, being brave enough to sit there and go against the grain, like speak truth to power, you know, do something. My old band teacher used to say, to get what you never had, you got to do what you never did, you know? So that means like, let's say if if God has called you to be a business owner, if that's a small piece of your purpose, then you got to be willing to sit there and sit with somebody and figure out what is all it take to be a business owner. How do I write a business plan? What taxes do I need to file? How do I get my EIN number? You know what I'm saying? What product am I going to put in? Like, you know, do I have a business canvas? You know, do I have a product that is going to be marketable to others? You got to do a whole lot of thinking and soul searching. And so it's not an easy process of getting to that point. But again, if you're willing to go through it, if you're willing to struggle, if you're willing to, be transformed from being a coal into a diamond, you know what I mean? That means you got to deal with a lot of pressure. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know? And a lot of people can't deal with the pressure, or they don't want to deal with the pressure. I mean, not say they're not able, they don't have the ability, they don't desire, because pressure isn't cute. You know what I'm saying? Like when you in the oven cooking, it ain't cute. That chicken that you just defrosted, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Cute.
No, it's a process.
Frozen. It's still frozen. You still gotta put the seasoning on it. You gotta make the sauce, you know what I'm saying? And then you gotta let it sit in the oven, the heat. 350, 400 degrees.
Right.
You know for at least 30 minutes to an hour. At least.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You
got, but we don't even want to sit that long in church though, you know.
We don't. That's a whole nother topic, because let's since you want to go, let's go there. We don't want to. We haven't been conditioned. You know what I'm saying? We haven't been conditioned to do that, and because we cater to the culture so much, we think that in order for them to stay around, we have to dumb stuff down or cut things short.
Yes.
But I also feel like if you're an effective communicator or effective programmer, it don't take that long to get your point across if you know what if you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of times, and also like, I'm not trying to get on my soapbox about the church, but I think a lot of times we're so worried about getting people added into the building versus doing what Jesus said, which is train them up and send them out, like discipleship, that our focus becomes wrong. So we look at this as, man, like people ain't coming no more, or man, I gotta, I can't do 2 hours straight. I gotta do an hour or hour 30, when it's like, yo, if you are spending time with the Lord and you are perfecting the craft, like I can get my point across in 5 minutes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I can use this. How many people, like even this platform, right? We on Facebook Live. A lot of people won't settle for, you have a reach of 500 people tuned in right now. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't have 500 people in the pew.
Right.
But hold up. is it about the impact or is it about the number? Which one is it?
Which one is it?
That goes into a heart check, and I think there's a heart check also within the parishioners or the lay people who are coming in. Like, do you want to get Longhorn steak or you want McDonald's fries? I say this all the time, right? I love cheddar biscuits, right? I love cheddar biscuits. I can talk about cheddar biscuits for so long. You know what I'm saying? I can eat cheddar biscuits. You know what I mean? They may not be good on my stomach and my sexiness, but I love it. All right. But here's the problem, right?
Right.
A person, and this is me working with youth my entire life. You know what I mean? There's some kids who ain't never experienced cheddar biscuits in their life. Right. All they know is McDonald's fries. So if all you grew up on is McDonald's fries, you don't know what you're missing out on when you get some cheddar biscuits. But once you got a taste of them cheddar biscuits, you have to say your taste and see that it is good. And I'm telling you, it's good. All right. You know what I mean? Once you got a taste of that cheddar biscuit, you don't necessarily want to go back to McDonald's fries.
Right.
Because it ain't the same.
It's not the same.
It's a different texture. It's a different taste. It's a different experience, And I think that that's what it is. Like a lot of people, millennials or whatever generation, we grow up on McDonald's fries theology. You know what I'm saying? We grow up on, bite-sized, clips and sound bites.
Yes, sound bites. Yes.
And you got to be conditioned to be able to eat steak.
Yes.
You got, I think it was Paul himself who said, by this time, you should be teachers.
Yeah.
You're not a babe no more. When you babe milk, now you ready for some grown food. And so you have to be willing to condition. But we also, as leaders and practitioners, we got to be patient enough and again discerning as well to know where our people are and be like, you know what, you deserve this, so I'm gonna give you this. You know what I'm saying? And let God do whatever the rest is with the politics and all that other stuff.
Now that's good. That's good right there. The process of going to good for great is not necessarily a good one, and a lot of times, people, this is about to be so good. People misunderstand setbacks to think that God has abandoned them or they have missed the mark of understanding what their purpose is. Let's just talk about setbacks real quick. Tell me, how do you think a lot of times people in their lives, like when, they know they heard God told them to do something, but it's not quite turning out the way that they thought it would. It could be their fault or it could be somebody else's fault, whoever fault it is, but somehow it got all messed up and, they're having to start over. So let's talk about that.
I mean, I think sometimes you need a clean slate. And, scripture says his ways are not our ways and his thoughts are not our thoughts. So we may not know and we see in part and we hear in part, right? So we may not understand the full picture of why God is doing what he's doing, right? That don't mean that we can't feel some type of way about it, though. And that don't mean that we can't question it. Job was questioning God, I don't know how many times, you know what I'm saying? Job was also man enough to hear the response that God gave. And so if you want the questions, if you want to be able to deal with that, you got to be ready for whatever comes. I think that sometimes it is your fault. Sometimes you the problem.
Right. Yes.
Yes. I ain't come here to sugarcoat nothing. Sometimes
no, you gotta sugarcoat it. Sometimes it's you.
Sometimes it's you.
Yes.
But other times it may not be you. It may just be the process in which it takes for you to become who you was always destined to be. We look at greats like Michael Jordan, right? And Michael Jordan tells a story that he got cut from his high school basketball team. You know what I'm saying? Like Ed Jordan himself still had a setback. You know what I'm saying? And if he would have gave up, Derek Jeter, I just got finished watching. I'm not a sports guy, but I just got finished watching this documentary on Derek Jeter. And he talked about how his first year in the MLB, he was trash. Like he didn't make it to the major leagues. Like, they was about to send him back down to the D leagues, but somebody got hurt, and he was beating himself up about it and stuff like that. And I think that's what happens to us. It happened to me working at V103. I've been speaking my whole entire life. Okay.
Yes.
I'm nice to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Looking at the mic, I'm nice.
Right.
You know, but I'm in a new space. So I'm thinking, because for so many years I've been doing this, that this should be able to translate. And it's a totally different world. It's a totally different sphere. You got to learn certain things. You got to be humble. You got to be teachable. So it was a long time before I cracked the mic. You know what I'm saying? And I've been fighting still, you know. And so luckily, you know, Joyce Littell, shout out to Joyce. She saw something in me and was willing to put me on AOK, you know, and I had to adjust and be okay with, maybe this is the position that God has positioned me, because maybe I have more freedom and flexibility to do his work over here that I wouldn't over there. But I'm looking at where I want to be. I'm looking at success, what success looks like to me. I'm looking at what status looks like to me. You know what I'm saying? Right. And sometimes we let our imagination or our, again, selfish ambition cloud us of what God is actually speaking or saying to us. Yes. And so it could feel like a setback, but, you know, any good preacher would say, but a setback is only a set up, you know? Right. And so you could be getting set up actually for divine, you know, appointments, divine abundance, divine purpose. If you could take a step back, you know what I mean, from your setback, no bars, I'm not trying to spit right now, but if you could take from your setback, you know what I mean, and observe like the play that's going on, and okay, God, what is it that you want to do in this space, in this moment, in this time? What am I to learn? Instead of me getting frustrated and angry and doubting myself, you know, which a lot of times that's part of the process. Let me sit there and be like, okay, if this door is not working, is this a need for me to persevere? Or is it because you have something else for me? You know what I'm saying? I remember before I even got the V103 job, man, I was hustling around the city just trying to get a job. You know what I'm saying? I quit my job doing full-time ministry. I started picking up being a DJ. I was working in Stars and Strikes. I was working as a church outreach pastor. I was hustling. And I said, you know what? I got a friend at Chick-fil-A. I need some money. You know what I'm saying? I got again, going back to the degree, I got this computer science degree. I'm about to go get bread at Chick-fil-A. Right. I made it through all the interviews until the third one. The third person who was interviewing me was a minister, a pastor.
Oh boy.
So of course we started talking pastor stuff. God talk. He's like, yo, I look at your resume. Yo, why you here? And I'm like, I need a job. That's why I'm here. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I started talking to him about my passion and stuff and who I am. And he's like, man, this ain't for you. This ain't the place for you, because you won't be able to be who you really are called to be being here. They're going to try to change you. You're going to have to conform. Like, this ain't you. You know what I mean? Yes. God is going to, he said this to me. He said, God is going to provide an opportunity for you to be able to be your whole self.
Whole self. You know? Yes.
So he didn't pass me along. So now I'm tight. I'm like, all right, God, yo, what's up?
What's up?
I've been holding you down. Then you start trying to justify yourself. Yo, right? I've been praying. I've been doing all this. I've been serving. Right? Yo, what's up? Look out for the boy. Yes. Like 2 weeks later, Captain Marvel dropped, and I was going to the movies. I'm a big Marvel fan.
Yes, me too.
I got a phone call. My wife got a phone call from her friend Danielle. Danielle said, hey man, I know X want to be in radio. Larry Tinsley needs somebody early in the morning. It's not an on-air position, but it's a foot in the door. Do he want it? I said, yes, I do. I would gladly. You know what I mean? And that put me in the door at V103. You know what I'm saying? But had I not had what I thought was a setback, from Chick-fil-A, I wouldn't have been able to appreciate where I am now. You know what I'm saying? And so all that to say is that every setback ain't a setback. Sometimes you need to step back so you can see the setup that God is really trying to do for you.
Y'all drop something in the chat. Y'all got some questions for Xavier. He over here dropping these nuggets tonight, you know, which because a lot of times in purpose, we kind of like miss God altogether when stuff don't pan out the way we thought it should. You know, I'm guilty. You know, it don't come wrapped in a package. You know, it don't come wrapped in the package. The process ain't what we thought it was gonna be. You know, so you start saying, "God, what's up?" You know,
and here's the tricky part about purpose too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, our imagination. We imagine that when we're operating our purpose, everything is sunshine and rainbows.
Yes.
Like it's gonna be, this is why we such babes and we need to mature, right? We think God is only good when everything is good happening in our life.
That's right.
But as soon as something bad has happened, we want to blame it on the devil, or we want to say this can't be God. When really, every storm God created. He put you in a position. And so even operating in your purpose, there can still be some hard work that you got to put in. There can still be
could be.
Oh, there will be. There will be. In
Right.
this life, there will be trials and tribulations. Okay. Yeah. So it's a part of it. And so even when you get there, not that you'll ever arrive, but even when you say, I finally found why I was called to be in design, right? You still got to sit there and deal with all the things that happen to it. Even in marriage, right? Mad people want to be married.
Yes.
Hey, you don't want to be married. You want the idea of what marriage looks like. Because if you really knew what it took to maintain a marriage, you think twice.
Yes.
You think twice. You want the wedding day. The wedding day is lit. The wedding day is lit.
The wedding day is lit. The dress is lit.
The dress, you fly, you get the cake, you dancing.
The cake.
Hey, we out here. But the marriage,
right?
The marriage takes work.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? And so, but that was part of your purpose. You know, a family was part of your purpose. It was the blessing. You prayed for this. You know what I'm saying? You prayed for this, and now you have to deal with the nuances and the complexions and the not problems, but the stuff that comes along with it. There's stuff that comes along with your purpose. You can't just do everything that you want to do when you operate in your purpose. You got to have discipline. Yes. You got to have obedience. You got to be willing. You got to train for your purpose. You know what I'm saying? You just not about to be sitting there floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee, and thinking that you just Muhammad Ali. Like, no, it ain't gonna work like that. You have to be ready and willing to deal with everything that comes. Because, for instance, right, I'm sure people want to be a pastor, right? Yes. They want to, because they see the glitz and glam. You impacted people. You sitting there talking up, you helping people, slaying them in the spirit, prophesying, laying hands, doing all this. Oh yeah, that sounds great. But what happens when you got to wake up at 3:00 in the morning because somebody's about to commit suicide and they about to jump off a bridge? What happens when you got to do 5 funerals in a year and one of those or 2 of those funerals are your own family members? What happens when your marriage is on the line, right? But you got to sit there and preach about how to overcome adversity when you don't even know if you can overcome adversity. Right. There's a lot of things. Oh, it seemed great. Purpose seemed great. And it is. But just know it's not just black. It's not black and white. You know what I'm saying? It's gray. And as a person who lived in a black and white, I've had to come to accept that a lot about God and about life is flowing in the gray. Jesus operated in the gray area all the time, which is why his opposition, the religious leaders, always tried to check him. You know what I'm saying? Because scripture says you need to be on the right side. And he'd be like, nah, that wasn't written for me. That was written for y'all. We gonna eat on the Sabbath.
Right.
We gonna heal this man on the Sabbath.
Yes.
You know, and so I know I get on my tangent, so I'm gonna let you.
It's all good, because the thing about it is you crossed over into what I was going to ask, is the type of mind you gotta have to perfect your purpose, because it's definitely a mindset that you have to have. You have to be disciplined, and you just said that you gotta have a mind that is focused on, that is totally focused. You can't be all over the place. You really do. You got to get into a zone. And so we got a question. I asked if somebody had a question. So Chanel said, what were the biggest barriers you've experienced while working and walking in your purpose, and how did you overcome?
I think for me it's always been, and that's a great question, Chanel. I think for me it's always been lack of belief from others, which then usually prompted lack of belief in myself. Right. So
you was looking for people to affirm you.
Yeah. I've always felt like I was the man, right? But this is what Jesus, I feel like, said when I forget what the scripture is, but he says a prophet doesn't get any love in his hometown, right?
Yes, exactly.
Because they were saying like, ain't that just Mary and Joseph's boy?
Mm-hmm.
Ain't you just see him building this
yes.
over there?
Yes.
What he doing up here talking about,
right.
Setting people free and stuff like that. And so I felt like, I always knew who I was called to be and who I was, but looking for affirmation from other people to confirm or affirm that was always a struggle. And so when I went into areas or spaces, whether it was jobs or friendships, and they do that,
right,
it would like destroy the confidence in me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so, like, for instance, like my wife and I a couple years ago wanted to do this. We wanted to train people. It was going to be called the Journey Experience in the AUC, because I was a college pastor in the AUC, and we was going to call a Journey Experience. We were going to help college students figure out what their purpose was, right?
Right.
And so I was asking my friends who knew me when. Sorry, my internet is trash. Who knew me when we were in school, right? I asked them, like, how much would you pay for somebody to teach you about finding your purpose, right? No one wanted to answer the question, but they did want to tell me, well, I don't know if you operate in your purpose yet. I don't know if, most people want to see people at a successful rate or whatever like that. You might still be trying to figure it out. And I've looked at them and I was like, I've been living and walking in my purpose since 2006. Right. I don't know about y'all, but I've been operating in my purpose since 2000. I think I'm a pretty good expert in how to do it. I asked you, how much would you pay? You know what I mean? But I recognize that another thing with the generation is that we equate money to success. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the more money you have, the more successful you are. But in actuality, I would equate success to how willing and able and how consistent are you in fulfilling the purpose which you was called and created to be, because that's success. You know what I'm saying? Yes. But that's a tangent, it's a side note. I digress. Once I just said screw everybody else, and I said, you know what, me and you we got a good thing going on. You tell me what to do and I'm gonna do it. That's kind of how I got over it. And there are some times where I still struggle, because I see Kevin, I see you saying, how did you get over that need for affirmation? I don't know if I ever did get over it, but I learned how to live within. I battle the tension consistently. You know what I'm saying? So again, even at my job at V103, I want my program director to sit there and look at me and be like, yo, you ready? And maybe I'm not ready. Again, maybe it could be me. Maybe I'm not ready. Or maybe he just don't see me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is, but I recognize that there were times in my life where I spent 2 years catering, doing whatever I could to get him not only to like me, but to be able to say, yo, it's your turn. You up next. You nice. You know what I'm saying? To affirm me. And I went through like a serious depression. I went through like a serious depression, I think, coming into year 2022, because I thought it was my time. You know what I mean? And he didn't. And so what I had to do was completely ask the Lord to help me change my mindset and pivot and shift and say, you know what? I'm going to focus on what I can control.
Yes.
This is what I can control, so I'm going to go hard. You know what I'm saying? Yes. And so while I had a platform with WAOK with Joyce, I'm like, I'm going hard. You know what I mean? Yes. And I'm not saying this is the right motive, people. I'm showing you my imperfection. I'm not saying it's the right motive. I'm just saying this is what I took, right? That I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make you rule the day. You know what I'm saying? That you passed on me. And that and again, that comes from a selfish and anger place. but it helped me to like jolt me out of that.
Reawake that energy, right?
Reawaken that energy. You know what I mean? And so
yes.
I think for anybody, I think that you have to find something else to focus on.
Yes.
You know I mean, scripture said, Paul asked the Lord to remove this thorn that was in his side 3 times.
Yes.
And he was like, God was like, nah, my grace is sufficient enough. Meaning the fact that I even have you breathing right now is enough for you to be able to overcome. You I'm not going to take it away. You're going to have to learn how to live with it. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So if you're an insecure person, if you are a doubtful person, if you're a fearful person, or create whatever your thorn in your side is, he may not take it away, but he will give you the strength and courage to be able to live within it so that you're not operating from it every single time. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, and I pay attention to people who wasn't from it. Like Joyce in the situation with my job, Joyce affirmed me. Joyce tell me every time, she's like, X, every time you crack the mic, you better act like you the baddest MF on it. You know what I mean? I know y'all don't know that side of Joyce, but I'll be honest. You know, I said, oh, I can do that. You saying I can do that. I can do that. You know, and for me, having her believe in me when at a time I probably didn't believe in myself, even being as confident and as bold as I am, her believing me in that moment allowed me to change my perspective. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what it's take the prophetic voices around you.
Yes.
And shift your focus. Focus on something else. And then that'll help you keep it moving.
One thing I like about it is, God will always send the right people around you that will affirm you. So I like that you use the language.
Sure you don't. Sure you don't. Sure you don't.
The language of prophetic voices, because one of the things about it is that we really, the truth is, when we're on this journey of purpose, we are always looking for people to, affirm us. But God is the greatest affirmer, and when we spend time with him and we're centered in him and we keep coming to him, and he will keep reaffirming and affirming, but we have to really be still enough to hear him. A lot of times we so busy moving. Yeah. We so busy moving, and then not only that, our mindset is clouded. We're clouded by what we see on social media, right? Mm-hmm. So then we get the not compromising, but we
comparison trap.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So then you're into that, and then you're clouded by what you see on television, and then what you're listening to on the radio. So between your eye gate, and I try not to be too churchy when I'm saying something.
No, I know where you're going. Your eye gate, your ear gate, all that.
All that gets all cloudy. So when God is speaking, he's reaffirming and he's confirming what it is that you're supposed to be doing. You confused and you're missing God because you're not centered. Yeah. You're not centered and you're not sitting still enough to hear what he's saying. So I don't care if mama don't ever say, or auntie don't ever say, or if somebody don't have a Joyce, God will affirm whatever it is that he has called you to do. You just have to be quiet enough and centered enough and still enough to kind of hear what he's saying to you. Well, we having a good time tonight, and I don't want to leave without us talking about compromise, because a lot of times we learn that compromise can keep you from your purpose. Mm-hmm. And just talk just a little bit about that statement, because a lot of times we do find ourselves compromising who we are, who we are. We miss the mark because we're compromising on what God has called us to do.
Yeah, I think there's a book called Tradeoffs, and I forget who the writer is, but he talks about how in life there are trade-offs, right? And you have to be okay with whatever the trade-off is based on the choice that you make, right? My father always told me there in life, there are good and bad consequences for every choice that you make. You know what I mean? You got to deal with the consequences for it. So when it comes to compromise, sometimes you need the compromise, right? Sometimes you too heavenly bound that you know earthly good. Like sometimes you too high, you too lofty. You need a reality check. Like, yo, it may not always be that way, you know?
Yes.
So sometimes based on what it is, you don't need to be compromising. So for instance, right? If God told you to go to school to get this degree, right? I don't care if financial aid is trying to say you ain't got the money to be here. If you went to Clark Atlanta University, they say, you know, find a way or make one.
Right.
Hey, do what you gotta do because God told you like this is what you need to be doing. You know, that's an area where you don't need to be compromising in. But there are some things like, let's say again, going back to being a business owner, let's say, you know, God told you to open up a store, right? You know, you want this, you know, luxury storefront brick and mortar, you know, whatever that you can't afford. But God got you a friend that got like a little boutique, a booth that you could sell stuff out of it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
All right. You might or you might have an online situation where you know you could put your stuff on Shopify or something like that, and you can sell it out of there. You know, I feel like that's an area which you can compromise because you can build towards where it is that you want to go. Like God called me to create this nonprofit called Zeke's Dream Center, right? Where I would help middle and high school students and college students figure what their God-given purpose is, and then pair them with mentors that are doing what they want to do, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And my vision and stuff was like having a rec center like the YMCA, and you know, having my own like not studio, but it like our own facility, right?
Yes.
And but what God opened the door for me was that at the actual YMCA to be able to use my programming at the YMCA. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then I could be able to use that same programming in my neighborhood. And then I could use that same programming when I was in the college campuses. You know what I mean? And it was like, maybe I don't need the whole building. Maybe I just need the substance of which I'm given to get the goal accomplished. So I think that you have to, again, going back to being prayerful and speaking with the Lord and listening. God is always talking. We may not always be listening. So ask yourself, ask the spirit within you to have an ear to hear, you know, eyes to see, and divine revelation to know what is happening in the natural and the spiritual realm. And God will be able to reveal to you, like, where do you need to compromise in and where you don't need to compromise in. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Xavier, I know you've been dropping nuggets all night, and even though it's coming to a close of our conversation, this has been so amazing. You know, talking about perfecting your purpose, and when I say something like you can't be a stranger at the Leadership Church, you know, I'm claiming you as my brother already. We have so enjoyed you tonight here at the Closer Community. And so for those of you that are watching for the first time, if you want to stay connected to the Closer Community, make sure you text CLOSER to the number right below. That way you can receive exclusive information, exclusive content from myself and Pastor Tony. You know, make sure you follow Xavier on all his social media platforms. Again, you know, please tell them how they can connect with you, Xavier.
Yeah, so on social media, for all my Facebook people, you can go just type Xavier Brandon. I should pop up. If you're on Instagram, it's I am Xavier Brandon. If you're on Twitter, it's Professor X, ProfezZorX. And you can go to XavierBrandon.com if you want to do a one-on-one session. If you want me to come DJ, if you want me to come speak, if you want to buy a book, go to XavierBrandon.com, and book and stuff like that. Oh, Nikki, thank you so much. I love to come back if y'all would have me. But yeah, so yeah, just I'm outside. You can catch me on News and Talk 1380 WAOK Sundays from 4 to 7 p.m. on a show called Voices in the Streets Unfiltered. With our great brand managers are probably going to call me and say, yo, don't be telling my business out in the streets. I love you, Joyce. I'm always behind the boards on Larry Tinsley Show on Sundays on V103 from 6 to 12 p.m. So if you call it on the station, you'll probably talk to me. So yeah.
So y'all make sure you all stay connected to Xavier Brandon, and make sure you also stay connected to the Closer community. We will be back next week, but I can already tell you next week is Money University. And so we're in a crisis right now with our finances. Well, a lot of home people are in their household, whether they want to admit it or not. Everything has gone up. That's called inflation. And so Pastor Tony and I are going to drop some nuggets. We're looking forward to the next Closer community conversation on Money University. And he and I are going to have some good conversations on how you can make it through this season of inflation. So God bless you. Thank you again for joining, and have a good rest of your Wednesday. Good night.